What up, nerds, and welcome to another slumbering episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 411, recorded Sunday, February 19th, 2023. Tonight, we're talking about the winner of the February poll, which was Slumber Party Massacre from 1982. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got your boy, Randy. What's up, man?
Randy!
Hello. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy you finally made it, Bob, you late son of a bitch.
I know.
I can't believe how long we waited on you to arrive today.
I was fishing, hunting, roasting chickens, and then you called and you're like, hey, everybody's waiting on you. Everybody is waiting on you. So I had to fly back home real quick to talk about this movie. Thanks for the reminder.
I'm not sure why. I did not know you were a huntsman, but that's interesting. Okay.
That's just what I do. And
that's not where I expected that to go.
Me either. Randeezy, it's a pleasure to have you, as always. Next up, we got your boy, Soju, calling in from South Korea. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy, Sleepover Stains. Got my sleeping bag, got my mallows. Why don't you boys head on over?
You bring mallows?
Head on over to Korea. Just pop on over. Yeah. Mallows, dude. Yeah, we got to make some s'mores.
I'm stiff as a board already.
I feel like you're confusing a sleepover with a camping trip, maybe?
No.
Okay.
Bob, you make s'mores at a sleepover. That's normal. That's a normal thing people do.
That's what it's most associated with outside of this.
That's what you do.
The culture of the world, yes.
You don't order pizza or slam a bowl.
That's what we do in
Twinkies.
Korea. You guys just don't understand the culture over here.
You guys don't get
It's a Korean thing. It's a Korean thing.
I
will not question that for a number of reasons.
Yeah. Last but not least, joining us for her very first time, everybody welcome Nightmare Maven, also known as Vicky. Thanks so much for sitting in, Vicky. What's up?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
fresh out of work. I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of insightful things to say, so be prepared.
For sure. Thanks for rolling out of work and right into the insanity that we call our podcast. We really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
We're promising insanity now. Don't
promise. And we're gonna
write a bad review if the's no insanity.
I mean,
we're gonna have to work on that.
Discussion on this podcast. Hated it.
I think one of the guys was hungover. I don't know.
The question is, who?
The other guy was eating marshmallows the whole time. Vicky, you have a really dope YouTube channel. Why don't you let all the listeners know where to find it?
Yeah, you can find me. Just search Nightmare Maven on YouTube or basically anywhere, and you can find me. Talk about horror movies, horror books, anything horror. And sometimes I say smart things.
That's true.
Randy has referenced you several times on this podcast.
I have, yeah. I think I brought you up before by name, maybe. But yeah, I've watched some of your stuff for quite a while, actually. Which for me to I have any dabbling with anything is pretty rare. I just sort of I stick to my standards. If it's not community,
stare at the wall.
I don't know what I'm even looking at.
I never dabble. Never. I hate it.
I live in the Skinnamarink house, and it's just
constant.
It's just that on loop,
constant gritty noise.
You only play with Legos in this house. Check out
house. We finish our dinner.
Check out Nightmare Maven over on YouTube. She's got a lot of really great reviews for all sorts of awesome spooky things. So slam your eyeballs into that. You definitely will enjoy the shit out of it. Before we get into the main event, let's tackle just a little bit of housekeeping real quick. Our March poll is currently posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this March. The theme for March is It's a Scream, baby! And the movies to vote between are Scream 2, Scream 3, and Scream 4.
Bob, how those numbers looking? We only got about 3 weeks left in February,
69 weeks left in the month. Who knows how time works? Scream 4 is definitely winning handily. Scream 3 is in second place. Scream 2 is in last place, which is still a little shocking to me, but that's
pretty wild. Yeah.
Well, what it is.
I didn't clock it as the instant win, but I would have assumed it would be beating 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a general assumption.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Get your votes in. You've got 1 million days left before the end of the month, so whenever you want, just go ahead and slide that vote in to our DMs. And we'll see what movie we're talking about this March. In other Patreon news, last Friday we just dropped a mini cast on Mithrigan. Your boy Rand Deasy was talking about that in his solo minicast debut, which
Rand.
If you want salient thought, that's the shit.
How long did it take you to record that mini cast, Randy?
Oh, can I tell you, heavily edited, and still sounds like it does. It wasn't great.
All right.
But it was fine. No, it was good. I listened back to it. I actually thought you did a really good job, man. We're going to be dropping another minicast on Friday, March 3rd. Your boy Rand Deasy and myself were talking about that latest found footage hotness called The Outwaters. So check that out, dropping very soon. And I think that's going to be on Screambox, or is already on Screambox.
I think it is on Screambox, yeah.
So you can...
I want to see it real bad.
I think it dropped. I want to say somebody mentioned it dropped today in our Slack channel. So
it should be pretty easy to find if you do want to watch it. I know it had a really limited theatrical release, so not everybody was able to get to it. But I think it's should be on VOD somewhere now, or streaming somewhere now. So check that out, and then listen to Rand Deasy and my thoughts on Friday, March 3rd. That's really all we got.
You're saying that so frequently now, it's becoming the name. You understand that, right?
Rand Deasy. Dude, I don't know
That's just
why.
how it happens.
It's just so easy
how it happens.
to say.
It just rolls off the tongue real easy.
Rand Deasy.
It's so easy to say Rand Deasy.
To fall in Deasy. That's pretty much all we got going on over on Patreon. Let's Get Physical Media. Your boy Mikey and myself did record another commentary track in celebration of Fat Tuesday, which is, of course, Mardi Gras happening this coming Tuesday, February 21st, which at the time this episode will drop, it will be already available for you. But we talk over the top of Victor Crowley. So if you want to hear our thoughts on Victor Crowley, check out Let's Get Physical Media everywhere you get your podcasts. And I think that's all. You guys have anything you want to mention?
My house is filthy.
Clean it up.
So by time you're listening to this, the past Monday, so Monday the 20th, was the release of the newest Creature Comforts episode, which is the YouTube exclusive spin-off series where I typically record like some horror adjacent type things, or try to stick with that theme. This past month, I was talking with Corey from the Twinbee podcast, and we were covering Everything Everywhere All at Once. So that's a bit of a stretch for horror adjacent, but we do focus a lot on the darker themes of that film. So check that out. Also, by the time the next episode comes out, we will also have a new video out on Monday, the 27th. That's going to be a Hollow Knight video game review. So you can check that out before our next episode comes out. I know it's been a little while since I did some horror gaming reviews, but I'm getting back into it now with my Switch. So you can check that out on Monday. Now, my house is clean.
God bless you.
His house is clean.
All right, let's get into the main event. We're talking about Slumber Party Massacre, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Bob, how many boxes of this do you have?
If I'm being totally honest, it's 2. This nice.
I had a sneaking suspicion.
Nice little steelbook here from Scream Factory. This movie's pretty easy to track down. You can stream it, you can buy it, you can watch it pretty much anywhere. This was originally released in 1982. It's got a runtime of 1 hour and 17 minutes. Written by Rita Mae Brown. Directed by Amy Holden Jones. Stars Robin Steele, Michelle Michaels, Michael Villela, Deborah DeLiso, some other folks. Plot synopsis brought to you by IMDb is as follows. A female high school student slumber party turns into a bloodbath as a newly escaped psychotic serial killer wielding a power drill prowls her neighborhood. Had we seen this movie before, and would we recommend people check it out? Vicky, why don't you kick us off, please?
Yes, I have seen this before quite a few times, and I would definitely recommend, especially if you've seen all of the slashers, because I think if you're familiar with the genre, you'll note the differences, which I'm sure we'll get into. And also, like you said, it's literally free to rent, like basically anywhere. Easy to see.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Right on. Ray and Do, how about you?
I thought that I had seen this movie, and then I was swiftly realized that it was actually part 2 that I have seen. So this was a first watch for me.
Wow.
Markedly different from the second one, I will say that. But yeah, I think I would generally recommend it, especially to slasher fans, certainly, because this is kind of primed for that. This is right in the middle of the thick of all of that genre boom. So if that's your thing, man, this fits right in there.
Right on. And Juice, what about you?
I would generally recommend to like genre fans, but I think it's pretty well noted. Oh, this was my first time watch for me though, too. I'd never seen this film before.
Wow.
And I think I know. And I think it's like pretty well documented at this point that this is not particularly my bag, my brand of horror, that I'm certainly into the campy, schlocky kind of stuff. But if you are into that and you have not seen this, then I think that you should check it out, especially with the kind of reputation that it has now. And so, yeah. Bob, how about you? Had you ever seen this before with your 2 blues, or were they just sitting on the shelf?
Well, he read the IMDb synopsis, so I don't know.
Collecting dust, for years, and I just never...
So we've seen it happen.
Well, the back of the steelbook has no words, so I couldn't really read it off of that.
Okay, all right.
Gasp.
All right. So yeah, you brought the heavy duty receipts for this one. I see.
No, I had seen it a handful of times before, and I echoing y'all, I definitely recommend to like slasher fans. If you're a slasher kid, I think you're gonna enjoy this. If slashers are just not your thing, you're probably gonna be bored out of your mind, I would say. So yeah, seems like a pretty decent, I guess, recommendation across the board, with some caveats to keep in mind. If you have not seen this movie before, we're going to be spoiling the shit out of it, and here comes your warning.
Spoiler warning.
Bob,
right, so-
do you have a plot synopsis?
Yes, it is.
Do it.
God,
6,000
because this got really
pages
confusing to me. There's a lot of different plot points going on.
This is a campfire tale that's Rob's going to do right now. Is literally what's happening right now. The synopsis of the movie is de facto a campfire tale.
5 minutes to midnight. Time for one more story.
Whoa.
Gather round, children. Roast your marshmallows that you brought to the sleepover, I guess, if you want to do that.
It's normal, okay? It's Korean. You don't.
I'm normal. You're weird.
I've been saying this for years.
Roast the mallows at the sleepover.
Decades at this point.
Relatively short synopsis, but here goes. Trish Devereaux, an 18-year-old high school student living in California, decides to have a slumber party. Her neighbor David is given the task of checking in with her while her parents are away. As Trish goes to school, we see escaped murderer Russ Thorne kill a telephone repair woman and steal her van. At school, Trish invites her friends Kim, Jackie, and Diane to the slumber party, as well as the new girl, Valerie. However, Valerie declines the offer. After school, Linda goes back to get a book she forgot. She's attacked and killed by Russ. That night, during the party, the girls smoke weed and drink alcohol while Valerie babysits her younger sister across the street. 2 boys from school spy on the girls as the neighbor is killed outside with a power drill. Diane then goes out to her boyfriend's car and finds him decapitated. The girls then order pizza. When it arrives, the pizza man's eyes are drilled out. The teens grab knives. Jeff and Neil run for help, but are both killed by Russ. He then gets inside the house. He kills Jackie and Kim. Trish flees. Valerie and Courtney walk over, and they find the girls dead. Their coach, now concerned by a previous phone call, comes over as well. She is killed by Russ. Valerie cuts Russ's drill bit in half, cuts his hand off with the machete as well, and slices his stomach open. Russ falls into the pool and sinks, only to emerge one final time to be hacked down by Valerie. Roll them Credits. Pretty straightforward.
Class tale as old as time.
Yeah.
See it every day.
See it every day. Every single day. Fairly straightforward slasher fare, honestly.
Super short.
Yeah.
It's like 77 minutes, I think, on my little scroller thing.
They kept it tight.
Yeah.
Which, it doesn't really need much padding. There's not much in the way of plot, I don't think, necessarily. I don't know. How do you guys think this holds up to some of the other more well-known slasher movies out there?
Good question. I think that's. I don't know. I think it stacks up pretty closely to 1-to-1 to me, like in terms of experience. I really it washed over me the same way. I don't know. Not necessarily like the big bads, because this did not have that. Like the big bad exists, but he's Denim Dan. He's not much more than that.
The Denim Driller, if you will.
The Denim Driller. Man.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Coming again.
That is a good one. No, yeah. So it's kind of lacking in that department, but I think it's kind of paint by numbers in terms of getting the kills, being consistent with it, and being a tight runtime, and then of course hitting all of those boxes that old Randy from Scream would point out to you for the most part.
Yeah. Sure. Vicky, what about you? How do you think this one holds up to some of the other well-known slashers?
I think for how basic the story actually is, it gets mentioned quite frequently when people talk about slasher movies. It keeps its notoriety a little bit. It's still in the forefront of people's minds when we talk about slasher movies, even though it's definitely not on the level of the bigger ones that we all know and love, like the Nightmare on Elm Streets, the Friday the 13th, like that. But surprisingly holds its own, I think, amongst the many, many, many slashers that came out that decade.
I think it has a lot in kin with some of the sequels of those types of movies. You know what I mean? I think that some of the acting and stuff is on that level that's going on here for the most part. Some exceptions, but I don't know.
Well, yeah, I think one of the things that, when you're thinking about a kind of slasher and what's the kind of angle, especially of this time, I think this one has a decent enough setup of, the killer's nothing special, and we'll kind of get into that and how it's lacking in maybe the slasher aspects, but the kind of weapons and kills are there. The drill is something unique and has a kind of sub context going on there too, but just in part for what it does for the kills, the pizza guy with his eyes kind of drilled out, him being able to get through the locked doors using the drill. It kind of in a way made me think of No Country for Old Men, where you're used to somebody kind of walking around killing people, and then they have this kind of unique weaponry, and it kind of catches you that's kind of sets you up for a little more creativity. And I think that is a positive that this film kind of has going for it. It's they picked a unique kind of weapon, and it makes the kills kind of stand out in that way. It's
pretty iconic. Yeah. I mean, yeah. That's the thing. If there's something iconic about the killer, but the weapon, you're right. It does have something, some panache.
I think I think the way Russ looks is kind of striking, even though he's not wearing a mask, which I think is typically associated with most slasher movies. He does have sort of a look to him with his crazy googly eyes and the denim outfit with the bright red shirt. It's a look he's got. It's not the coolest shit I've ever seen, but
it's just Robert Englund wearing a Freddy sweater, Robert Englund wearing one, just to wear it.
Oh God, the sweater!
The sweater's not scary on its own.
For a minute, when I was kind of assessing the time of this movie, when did this come out? He kind of looks and reminded me of Henry Rollins.
Okay.
He kind of, that's why I kept thinking, I was is that Henry? I don't know. That just kept popping into my mind.
I wish
I didn't think that guy could go darker.
I don't know why that popped in, but yeah, he kind of looked like that to me.
The intense eyes, man. I could see it. Yeah. Yeah, the drill is a really nice touch for this movie. It's better than I think just using another knife or pitchfork or machete or whatever garden tool laying around.
Although he does mix it up a little bit, like kind of spur of the moment stuff.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that drill bit's like, I don't know, like 2 foot long. Like if you're gonna compensate for something, which I think is an intention of him using a drill, I think it's hilarious that it's so fucking huge.
I don't know if it was explicit or not, or if maybe, I don't know, but like, was it supposed to be something he found in that work van?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, really? I didn't piece that together. Okay.
I mean, that would make a kind of sense, right?
Yeah.
Because she's running wires through buildings. So yeah, okay. Yeah. I thought that was implied, but not spoken. So happy.
Well, they had mentioned, the newspaper mentions that he has killed before somewhere else, like in California and stuff. But I guess they specifically don't say the drill killer or whatever. So
they don't say drill killer, which they definitely would if they
knew. Yeah. So I guess so. I didn't think about that though. Yeah.
Driller killer.
That's the only reason that he has that kill, I guess, is just to do that moment. One thing I didn't realize, kind of going off of that, so Rob is going to play an interview later, a short interview, but I listened to the whole thing, and one thing that I don't think I quite realized was that, and I didn't go back and watch, so this couldn't be incorrect, but none of the women are actually killed on screen. Right. Is that right? For the most,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think anybody is killed on screen except for maybe the
definitely at least 2 of the guys, Mr. Constant or something, whatever. One of the girl gets cut across the neck. That's true.
And the coach gets cut across the belly.
That's okay. Never mind then. Okay, maybe she said she tried not. The director said she tried not to film the women dying on screen. So
you see the action of it.
Yeah, definitely the most brutal kills are the 2 kids that are like the peeping Tom kids. One of them gets stabbed several times on the lawn.
Yeah,
and the other one I forget how he gets killed, but
he just gets drilled. I think, and then and then he gets drilled like at the door because he lives, doesn't he? Or is it the other guy?
Drilled.
He gets the drill. The boy gets drilled.
I was trying to hold it together.
Damn, yeah.
Poor little feller got drilled on camera. Hate to see it.
To death.
Here lies baby Toby Gill. He got the worst end of the drill.
I think
I don't even remember those dudes' names.
I made that up.
It's very difficult to remember most of the people's names. Trish,
shitty boyfriend 1, and or shitty boy 1, shitty boy 2, and then
Diane,
gaggle of girls. Yeah,
I do think whenever he first gets the drill and he's chasing the one girl around in the high school, I think there's like a decent amount of tension built up throughout that sequence where she's like trying to cover up her own blood and it runs underneath the door and you're like, oh my God, like her injury is gonna fucking give her away. And like I thought that was like a lot of really nice tension that like doesn't really happen much throughout the rest of the movie, but like the beginning right there, I was like, man, that's a pretty cool sequence, I thought.
I also loved the setting. Like I felt like that really looked like a lived-in school, which is a lot of times movies have a tendency to like, pristine it up or like if they're shooting on location or just fake it up like Boy Meets World set or something. So I was happy to see like, there's some scraped in words on the plexiglass and shit. I was like, that's real. That's a real school.
That's a real American high school, guys.
And it was
nice and
that's what it's all about. They had some cool shots though too. Like they had a really nice shot of the gym when she's walking to and from the gym door. I don't know. I like the compositions in that sequence in particular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they blew the whole budget on that one. Cat and mouse.
Well, I'm kind of glad that you brought up that you like the tension there, but that it didn't exist anywhere else in the film, because that's kind of how I felt. Mm-hmm. And so there were 2 major aspects where I was kind of considering this, it's this kind of cult classic, infamous kind of slasher now. But when we're also looking at, Roger Corman in the realm of like exploitation films, one of the things that like really kind of tips it towards the other end is that it doesn't have some of those tropes, or it doesn't lean as much into some of the tropes of the slashers of kind of like the horror aspects of the tension of the stalking. Normally the killer is like more in the shadows, you don't know if they're right around the corner in your closet. I mean, this dude we see him creep into a bedroom. Like, it's not like he's standing there, he's like in full light and everything. And so in that way, removing that first kind of scene where there is a lot of that kind of creeping around, he's still just kind of standing around the hallways and stuff, but
we see him jogging back to the van. I thought that was hilarious.
Realistic.
He's got hustle,
Yeah,
Michael Myers taking his time and teleporting.
Running there's no mystique going
running in that amount of denim.
I would love to see
glorious.
him like get in the van, shut it, and just go
real time, turn on the radio.
Levi's don't breathe,
Holy shit. Oh God.
So yeah, in that way, I thought it was interesting that it kind of leans more in like towards the exploitation aspect in that way, separating itself from just like another slasher or whatever. But because of that lack of tension and like creeping going on and stuff like that, that's how I kind of took it. What did y'all think?
I think that's interesting that you said that, because and maybe that's just because as a woman watching it, the fear for me is the fact that there's just a man out there and they're alone in the house and it's dark out, and that to me is really scary. And I guess I didn't necessarily need that tension building. I like it in that first scene, but it was already there for me because the anticipation of eventually he's gonna get into the house and he's gonna get them is what's scary. And it makes me think of every time I've been in the house by myself and you hear a weird noise outside. It's like, is it a man that's going to break in and try and kill me?
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, because they play with that specific aspect, now that you mention it, a couple times, because like with the boys too, even when they're messing around, but their whole thing is like, we're going to scare them. We're like looking through their window. We're like doing but that's also like a fear, of like even these goober ass motherfuckers, like, creeping on you through a window. It's like, that's not cool. It's played up.
They're not that different from him.
Yeah. That's the thing. So yeah, that is interesting.
They're just not, they don't have murderous intent, but they are also participating and doing, like, he leaves a fucking baby doll or whatever that they think is them. Like that's an intentional parallel that's happening there between those characters.
I think that's an interesting moment in this movie. The movie starts off with Trish, and she's like throwing away a box of her old toys. One of them is that doll, and it's in the trash. And then we see like a hand off screen, like come into frame and grab it.
Give me the doll,
which is Russ. Yeah, give me the doll, which is definitely Russ. And like, we find out like she's newly 18. We assume all of her friends are like newly 18. They're still in high school. She's throwing away her dolls. She's like an adult. She has like her own sense of agency. She's her own person, she's going on about her business. And then later in the movie, we see him like, slam the doll into the windowsill, and it's covered in blood. And it's like, I sort of like read into that situation. Like he's like rejecting her sense of agency. And like, he even later in the movie says like, he loves them, and it takes a lot of love to do this kind of thing. And he knows they want it. He knows they're going to love it. And it's like, he knows
that's like
what they
the
want
thesis statement of the movie
above what they want, above what they know they want, they're like, it's sort of like him forcing his will on them in a sense. And yeah, that is like, if you're going to go for like a broader point, I think that's what I would pull out of it first and foremost, but that's just me and my read. I don't know. The doll.
I don't think you're alone in that at all.
Yeah.
No, it's a loss of innocence too. She's an adult now, and this horrible thing is going to happen to her right after she's decided she's going to be grown up.
That's why you got to cut off the dick. That's what you got to do. Got to protect
yourself.
Yeah, they do indeed.
Mom always said, if they come at you, go for the dick.
Well, so there was this, I wanted to kind of ask you guys, because immediately I clocked this as like, this is weird. But I thought they were going to play it up a little more than they did. And I thought they could have made it stronger with the neighbor, Mr. Constant or whatever his name was.
Weird name.
So I thought,
was it Constant? Because that's gotta be intentional.
It's something like that, or constant.
Content.
Content.
Maybe. Constant.
It was definitely not a name.
Constant. That's at least what the subtitle.
My name is Milquetoast. Nice to meet you.
Well,
He's
so
killing
immediately when the parents are leaving and they're like, "Oh, Mr. Constant's gonna look after you" or whatever, and I was like, "Okay, this dude's kind of like creeping me out a little bit." And then there's moments he's in the house, he's walking around the house with a machete, and ultimately it doesn't become anything. And I thought that they maybe could have played with that a little bit more, but where my mind was kind of going and where I felt it would have been stronger is if he was more of this kind of like stereotypical, like strapping man, like I'm going to look after you, but that means I'm going to creep into your house, like I'm just going to come to your house uninvited and I'll walk around your yard with a fucking machete, like, oh, I'm the man, I'm protecting you. But that induces fear. Like, why the fuck are you in my house? Like, why are you walking around my yard with the fucking machete? Like, that's not chill. So I felt like I got kind of that, but they didn't play it up. And so then I was questioning myself of like, were they really kind of going for that? Or like, could it have been stronger in that way? Did y'all feel that same kind of like iffiness for this character? I immediately was like, I don't like this.
Oh, he's a creep.
Yeah.
He's 1,000% a creep.
Okay.
The excuse, I'm going to walk around killing snails. Give me a break.
With a knife. This is the only way to kill him. He says that in the movie.
Give me a break.
You don't have a foot?
Salt.
What is happening?
Like everybody knows you can just salt a snail.
Snails are known for salting to death. So
they're more delicious that way when you add salt to it. There's that whenever he's in the house, like Trish, I think it's Trish, she like hears something, she's like, oh my god, I think someone's in the house, and she walks over and just sits down and starts playing piano and then like just stops looking for anybody in the house. I was like, why? What a choice. And then he like creeps up. I don't know.
You never just walk into a room and forget what you're doing? Come on.
Forget that you're scared for your life?
Wait a minute. What was I? I was going to play Chopin, of course.
Chopin. Chopping. I love chopping.
Okay, I'm glad I was like, from the immediate scene with the parents, like he's gonna watch after you. I was like, what is this guy doing? He's just. They did pick a good actor to be kind of like creepy, but
I see him as like creepy youth minister more than creepy tough guy.
That's a good call. Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? He's the guy's like, don't worry, girls. You guys be careful with that Maui Wowie. That was the part where I thought maybe he would actually factor in a little bit as being like, this is like as a mislead. They're putting him being kind of okay with like small crime. Like he wasn't the drill sergeant. So it's like, okay, maybe they're setting him up for a bigger crime later, but no, he just killing snails.
Yeah. He is shockingly like other than the dad that leaves first thing in the movie, he's probably like the most normal, harmless male in the movie, I guess, because like everybody else is either like Russ Thorne or like the dudes that are like peeping toms. Like everybody's like every other like male is like very clearly like objectifying all these young girls, and like.
But he's oblivious. Is kind of his thing.
Yeah, he is. I guess he is oblivious, but I don't know.
So maybe he's like the supposed authorities are supposed to go turn to in a crisis, but ultimately are ineffective or don't listen properly or whatever, they're
left on their own essentially. They can't
maybe
get
I don't know, that's
from,
just a pitch.
Yeah, I get that. I think it's interesting that the dudes, the like teenagers that are like peeping on them only die because they're being like pieces of shit and they're there to peep on these girls. Like if they weren't there, they would be alive still,
Yeah, they would live to peep another day.
Sure.
Fucking assholes.
The dumb driller strikes again.
Sometimes drillers get them right.
Sure. Murder is endorsed by your boy Randeezy. Everybody heard it here.
2 big thumbs up.
I thought the score was actually really solid for this movie. That's one thing that really stuck out to me. I think that does kind of hold up towards like some of the other bigger slashers, like the Halloween's and Friday the 13th. It's not quite as notable, but I think it's up there.
I found out some trivia about this today that I think I'm going to try and get this right. I'm probably going to get a detail wrong, but I think like the writer's brother or something, like one person who was related to somebody on the high end of the production of the film did all of the music on a small Casio keyboard.
Is the director's brother, I think. Yeah.
Oh, you knew that. Okay, great. Yeah. I thought that was pretty badass. You know what? Like, fuck yeah, like get in there. I don't know. I like to see somebody like a no-name person get in on any level of big feature. You know what I mean? Especially at that time, it's nice to be able to sidle your way in.
Yeah,
you got to sidle sometimes.
Yeah, sidle up.
Yeah. Outside of like that guy though, I didn't feel like any, other than like the guys being like pieces of shit. I feel like ultimately the characters are like pretty thin and like nothing else really factors in as much. I thought too, like maybe I kind of wanted the coach to do a little bit more. I was kind of hoping like the coach was going to show up and she was going to whoop some ass or something a little bit. I don't know. That's
she does beat the shit out of him with a poker.
Yeah, she definitely does better than old fucking the peepers and everybody else. Really, she does better than everybody else.
Pretty much everybody else.
And I think too, I like that dynamic because I was really like starving for someone of substance. I really was hungry for something to kind of matter or to have some kind of weight, because the dynamic between the two sisters is pretty solid too. The older sister and even kind of playing into that idea of, the older girls, they're becoming, they're putting away their dolls, becoming adults, growing up and stuff like that. And so having that aspect of the older sister and the younger sister and kind of like, them having those natural kind of conversations, I thought that was pretty strong, but didn't really amount to a whole lot. And so like when they were doing the thing with the coach too, where the girls were calling the coach and like, hey coach, we know what's going on. And then she was worried about, I was like, I want something to matter. Like I want some kind of character to have something going on. And ultimately, I think I was just kind of disappointed in this film in that. It's just like, every time I thought some intriguing little aspect was coming up where I was like, okay, am I going to get something here? I ultimately didn't. And I was just kind of left hungry at the end of it. Like, oh, I wish something had some more weight to it or something.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it's like they're kind of leaning into that. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. They're just all like, to your point, that they were really leaning into that like basic slasher thing. Like maybe they didn't feel the need to expand on it too much because this is what slashers do. But you're right, a lot was set up and not a lot paid off at the end, other than the drill getting cut in half, which is like the best part of the movie for me.
Yeah, and that's kind of like
a character-driven movie. It's very much not a character-driven movie, but I would argue that they do a little bit of work to at least try and separate their characters. They don't do enough, but like, because there's just groups, there's pods of people and they run together. Like, you're like, wait, is this the one that's interested in this girl? Or is this one that's like, I don't know, that's whatever it is, that's angry at the other one for being good at basketball. It was tough to keep track of for a few minutes. And the two contenders for main character or final girl, it kept oscillating between like the girl who's hosting the party and the girl next door. And I could not determine until they really started fleshing out that sister relationship. I was pretty on the fence until I was like, okay, I think they're going with this girl now. And this is going to be like the core relationship that everybody might be dead, but that other girl was like factoring in so heavily. And it turns out that they were basically both final girls. So that explained it, I guess. It kind of split my focus as maybe that's part of why it felt like thin characters, because there was no like centered character that stayed primarily centered throughout the movie.
And I do wonder that if some of that thinness is held over by the fact that this was originally written to be a parody of slashers, in which, of course, you probably wouldn't have very deep characters because it's supposed to be a surface level kind of, commentary on what we've seen over, the dozens of other slasher movies out there. And like, if there's also like some pretty hokey dialogue, some of it feels out of place in this. Like some of it feels like intended to be more humorous than it really comes off. And I wonder if some of that is also a bit of a holdover from the parody of the original script. I know it was like rewritten by Amy Jones, but some of that had to have stuck around, I would imagine, for better or worse. I don't know. Some of it is funny to me. Some of it just rings a little bit hollow too, though.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I don't even like. I don't know whether or not this is a comedy. Like, so it's been described by, I think Amy Jones said it was considered a black comedy or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of the comedy in it, but I can see where like inroads are, where you could have, like, a joke clearly lived here at one point and they excised it and just sort of smoothed the edges as little as they could. That's kind of what it feels like with some of the writing. And it's hard to blame them because they could have gone back totally to square one, but it sounds like they didn't have the option to do that. Like, this was truly like, okay, just take out all the comedy and make it, but they want Corman wants it the same, is what I kind of imagine happening there.
Yeah,
they're just trying to capitalize on the slashers instead of. Might have been too early for the slasher parody at that point.
Might have been.
Yeah, maybe so.
Which is a shame. This, like, the first slasher parody, that would be a huge feather in anyone's cap from that era. I mean, my God.
Well, and that's why I'm really curious of why they didn't kind of go that route, because listening to the interview, it really sounded like Roger Corman wanted his like typical things, but we've also seen like in realms of like, as long as you give me that, crank them out. Like, this dude's cranking them out. He's not worried about like the particular script beats or whatever. He wants his boxes checked. And so that leaves me to like this kind of curious thing of like, I wonder why they didn't go with that. Cause I feel like, I mean, obviously I don't know, but from like the interviews I've seen with like Roger Corman, like we talked about some of his like other films before, it seems like he probably wouldn't have been like so, but like, oh, you're going to parody slasher films. I don't think he has like such a artistic drive that he's like, no, you can't do it. It's like he wants his boxes checked, which they were checked. And so I really am curious of why that wasn't done. Honestly, I
thought about that too. And to my mind, if I had to wager a guess, it would be something along the lines of, oh no, this other movie fell through. We need to fill a slot. Just strip all the extra stuff away and like give us the boxes checked in a straightforward way. We're going to keep the horror movies coming out at this pace or whatever. Like, it was probably a dollars and cents question, or like a scheduling question, something like that.
Based on
what I feel,
whatever I like researched before doing this.
Oh, do you know the answer to this?
Yeah. So how the movie came to be,
Shut up, Brandon.
how the movie came to be, Amy Holden Jones was a fairly successful film editor, but she wanted to break into directing. She actually was, she got hired to edit E.T., Steven Spielberg's E.T., and turn that down so that she could direct a movie for Corman. How she got the job for Corman, she walked up to the office and was like, hey, Roger, I want to make a movie for you. I want to be a director. And he's like, well, if you want to direct, go direct something and show it to me, and then maybe I'll hire you. So she grabbed a script off of his stack of scripts, and it was this movie, and she read the first 8-10 pages, whatever it was, and liked it, shot that, showed it to him, and he was impressed and said, okay, go ahead and make the rest of the movie. So she was not intending to make the rest of the movie. She thought that she'd show him that to prove that she could direct and then go make something else. But he was like, no, finish this movie. You already proved you can make this movie, so finish it. I don't think she really wanted to make this movie necessarily, so she probably just, rewrote it to be a straight-ahead meat and potato slasher to kind of get it done and then probably move on to something else. It doesn't seem like. So
do you feel like she changed it from a parody to a more straightforward slasher?
Well, I know Roger Corman didn't rewrite it. So
okay, that's what your that's
I
your
assumed
impression.
That is my impression. Yeah.
Okay, because I also saw that same interview, her process in the ET. I didn't necessarily like come to that conclusion. I know, like she said, like if I had it my way, like I wouldn't have really made this movie. But since it's been stated that originally it was like intended to be a parody, then I'm like, well, then at what point did it change and why?
Yeah. The only two writers credited are Rita Mae Brown, who wrote the original script, and then Amy Holden Jones. So.
Okay.
But I mean, like, writers the person making the movie can tell a writer what to do. So
yeah,
like, it's possible. It's possible that he had a.
And then
but rewriting it. We're talking about they rewrote it, not as a parody anymore.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, so we are referencing an interview that I found on YouTube. I can't remember exactly what it's titled, but I did link it on our website. If you want to go back and listen to the whole interview, it's about 30 some odd minutes long. And it's fairly interesting. It's between Amy Holden Jones and there is another female director being interviewed as well. Penelope Spheeris.
Penelope Spheeris, yeah.
And they're talking about two movies that they had just come out with. Slumber Party Massacre is talked about somewhat heavily, and I cut out some sound bites from that because I thought it was really interesting and might add to our conversation. And I think also sort of directly sort of tackles the why I think a lot of people are drawn to this movie and are interested in this movie, and probably why it still holds a lot of weight today. So I thought it'd be interesting to include on the show. But it's about 4 minutes long or so. So I figured we could listen to that and then chat about it some more afterwards. If y'all are down with it.
Yeah.
Fine.
No.
All
that preamble, and it's a no from us, dog.
It's a no from me, dog.
And away we go.
Proud of everyone. Exploitation is a bad word. That's amazing to me.
It's not a bad word to me. I mean, I came out of there, and almost all of the big male directors in Hollywood came out of exploitation films. Martin Scorsese and Jonathan Demme, Francis Coppola, De Palma. All these people made films for Roger Corman, whose the films you may not have seen, or you may have seen. They were biker movies. They're women in prison movies. They're exploitation movies. Nurse movies, yeah.
Stewardesses.
Jonathan Demme made 6 of them. I'm very happy that I got away with only doing 1.
So how do you feel about Slumber Party Massacre now, looking back on it?
Love it. Just love it. I think it's a wonderful film. And no, I'm not kidding, actually. I quite like Slumber Party Massacre. I think Slumber Party Massacre has a uniquely feminine point of view. And it has, oddly enough, its following.
What's its feminine point of view for people who haven't seen it?
Well, it's comic mostly. The fears I think most of the slasher movies are male, and they have to do with fear of sex, and people keep getting offed in the middle of sex or whatever. The female characters are very uninteresting, and most of the characters in Slumber Party Massacre, the lead characters are all the girls. The boys are very minor, and I think the fears are basically female fears of a man outside in the night. And actually the primal fear involved, I think, is fear of losing your virginity. I hate to put it this way, but it's about a man with a drill who comes and gets these girls. And Rita Mae Brown wrote it, obviously, and I think it's a little bit about, oh my God, he's going to get me with that big thing. What's it going to be?
Here, a lot of feminists get very upset about films which show explicit violence towards women. They just would prefer that those films weren't shown. A lot of feminists got quite upset about Slumber Party Massacre. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about those kind of arguments?
Well, I think they're very naive about Slumber Party Massacre. If you look at it carefully, in fact, the people who die the gory deaths on screen, the ratio is much higher of men. There's something like 9 bodies, I think, in Slumber Party Massacre, and I think 6 of the on-screen deaths are the men, and nobody gets too hot about that. So it doesn't matter how they died. Their deaths happen to be more violent, as it turns out. Probably I was getting back at obnoxious teenage boys I knew. But as I say, Rita Mae Brown's a feminist, and she wrote it, and I happen to believe it's a feminist slasher movie. And if you look at it carefully, I think you'll find it is. Yes, well, I think the Slumber Party Massacre is a woman's film. I have to tell you, I'm sorry, but I don't agree with those critics. I have a great interest in inverting traditional Hollywood genres with a woman in the lead. I was, and always, since I was 13, have been a feminist, and I am proud to say it, though few people are proud to say it these days. And I personally am really tired of going to the movies and seeing the 50th buddy movie between 2 guys. Actually, there is one section of Slumber Party Massacre which I do think is exploitive and that I'm ashamed of, but Roger made me shoot it, and it has nothing to do with violence. It's a nude scene, and it's very exploitive. And I'm sorry I shot it, but I find it much more exploitive than the violence. That particular scene is shot from a very male point of view, of just, there's no reason for it except staring at those girls' bodies in the shower, and I find it offensive. It's so hard to get a movie. If you stood there on political grounds on everything for your first picture, you'd be standing there a long time. There were those criticisms of Slumber Party Massacre too, and I think it's simple-minded. I mean, I don't think there's one kind of film that women should make any more than there's one kind of film that men should make. And if Truffaut goes out and he makes a series of films in which there's a woman in the lead, which are sensitive, the critics don't run up and say, why is he making women's pictures? But if Penelope makes an action film, someone will run out and say, why is she making a man's picture? That's absurd, in my opinion.
I wish they would just pay me man's wages.
Yes.
That's my only problem. That's what we're going for.
And you still don't get it?
No. But I feel better if they also would write about films directed by men. This film was directed by a man.
Yeah.
You know?
Martin Scorsese, there's an interesting male director for you. Yes, that would be great. But I'm happy if they write about him at all.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, so I don't know. I thought that added some interesting context to the movie itself, and Amy Jones's thoughts about it, and it being a feminist movie, which is something that the first time I watched it for sure wasn't on the top of my brain, but after doing some research and stuff, finds out that a lot of people do hold this up as being a feminist slasher movie, which I think is an interesting point, and I think it probably is a reason that some people get a lot of enjoyment and appreciate it. And I think adds to the legs of this movie as opposed to some of the other slasher movies that maybe don't get discussed quite as much. So I kind of wanted to just include some of that in our discussion here. But I don't know, did you guys know that this was heralded as a bit of a feminist slasher movie, or did you get any of that from it as you were watching it?
I mean, I went in with that impression already when I heard about it first. So when I went in, I already had that idea. Obviously, when you see the credits rolling and you see a writer who's a woman and a director who's a woman for a slasher movie, that also, before the movie even starts, I'm like, oh, okay, perk up. And I'm okay. Now I'm looking at this in a certain different way. But I think I probably would have clocked it anyway, because as far as slasher movies go, throughout the whole movie, even though there are those nudity moments in there, and I think she was talking about that the shower sequence after the gym that she didn't want to show, but there is a few other bits of nudity in there, but none of them are linked to violence, which I think is what maybe sets this apart as a more feminist or a more feminine slasher movie compared to other ones. There's no having sex and then somebody getting cut up and diced up while they're also naked, and there's not that exploitativeness of fetishizing this feminine form with violence, like it's enacted on us all the time, especially in movies. Yes, yeah.
From each other, yeah.
I mean, I definitely saw it. Was interesting. Well, that she mentioned something that Vicky had brought up before of kind of the guy being outside, but also the idea of the virginity, because something I clocked was the very obvious scene to me was when he's standing in the garage over the girl and she's down and it's she's about to get killed. The drill's literally in between his legs, spinning. And then of course when the drill kind of gets cut off and the kind of victory there of the women. Castration. So those were the things that I clocked, but it was good to see it kind of bring up something that Vicky had mentioned earlier about just the fear of somebody's out there, so
yeah. I mean, totally. It's definitely I was just going to say something similar, which is this, it's tough. You would have to work pretty hard. Even I kind of did. I had a loose inkling. I felt like I had heard that this movie had a lot of feminist weight behind it. I knew it was obviously for our poll. It was a female helmed film. We chose it for that reason. So I knew that. And I was like, okay, well, that would make sense. These things. Anyway, long story short is I definitely went into it kind of with that expectation, but man, I didn't have to. It's some of those scenes are so on the nose. If you're looking for subtext at all, you're gonna see that, and it's comic. That's the part that's kind of funny. It's how comically to me bold and on its face it is. It's just this is the guy's dick, and this is him saying to her what shitty dudes have said to women in bars for 100,000 years or whatever. So probably not that long, but yeah, I don't know. I felt like it was, and not to a detriment though. I would say it was like an oasis, you know what I mean? To Justin's point earlier, it's a little bit dry on subtext or anything else. So it was a port in the storm. It was yes, okay, yeah, I see what's happening here. Yeah, and it was pretty clear early on, but they kind of dole it out very sparingly. It feels at least with that character, you do see that sort of with all the other male characters, pretty much. Kind of have I don't know, negative impacts on our leads and are in their own ways oblivious, shitty, and murderous are kind of the three modes of men in this movie. So it's pretty clear, like based on all those things, put all those things together. I think you've definitely got a feminist film that has some like decisions not made by the director, which is contrary to what they said about Corman being like the hands-off guy, but not entirely. Maybe just more so in comparison.
Yeah, I think Juice was talking about certain boxes that he expects to be checked for just about every movie, which is like copious nudity and of course violence. Outside of that, I think you can do whatever the hell you want. And like speaking to that one shower scene, which is very exploitative and lingering, has a lot of like very unnecessary
nipple
nudity,
dead center of camera.
But it is
like, Jesus.
It is like, for me anyway, it feels like it's shot in a very like plain, matter-of-fact way that's not particularly sexy. I mean, these girls are just chatting, showering or whatever, and it lingers for a long time, but it lingers like so long that it feels like bizarre and like made me feel uncomfortable to watch personally. So like, I don't know like how titillating it necessarily is, even though there is a lot of nudity, but that was my personal reaction to it. It made me feel fucking weird. I was like, okay, this is a lot. This is a lot.
It was very long.
So
in a short movie.
There was kind of like one thing that bothered me about this interview. So Rob sent it and then I watched the whole thing and then I'm listening to it now. And it's like, I was thinking about it in the movie, like there was the subtext, obviously. One thing I picked up on this time before I forget it was the idea of the buddy cop thing and how she did have the perspective of the two sisters. Cause that's what I was kind of talking about before of like, oh, it feels kind of like natural. They're in this together. You kind of see like their roles and stuff. But one thing that's weird about this interview to me and like there's something I can't quite wrap my head around with some of these like ideas and justifications is the clip that Bob sent is it literally starts off with them saying like people say exploitation in a negative sense, but I don't think it's that way. Oh, exploitation, it's fine. Exploitative films. And I'm wondering if they're talking more from a violence aspect, like it's okay for women to make violent movies, because what they say later goes against that idea of people say exploitative in a negative sense, but I don't see it that way. And I'm very proud of Slumber Party Massacre. And then she goes and says like, I didn't want to shoot that. I didn't want to make it this way. Roger Corman made me make it. And it's part of the exploitative nature that we shouldn't be doing, that it is exploitative against women. And so I'm like, so where's the middle? Like where's the connection coming in? Yeah. Are they, cause I like, if they're talking about like, oh, they say women shouldn't make violent films where like people are killing each other and stuff like, yeah, okay. I completely understand that. And I'm just like kind of confused about the statements and like how they fuse together, I guess.
I heard it as more, it sounded to me like more she was talking about, I guess, maybe directors' origins, because she also makes the point to mention like all these other directors that started in exploitation films. Mm-hmm. And that's at least the angle I thought she was taking it from. Like, it's not a bad thing necessarily that they are making these exploitation films to get their foot in the door directing wise, because a director ABCD also did that. At least that's where I took from it.
Yeah, I kind of got that too, because she does like immediately start listing off names of like the idea I think that she's talking about is what you just described, which is, you know, we're like it. I don't know that she's co-signing on those particular pieces of exploitation. You know what I mean? And there are other, like she could be talking about the violence. She could be talking about like other things you can exploit and have been exploited on film. Who knows? But she sees it as a viable career path that is a valid career path to take, more than she, you know, like cares that she's contributing to this thing that she doesn't necessarily respect universally.
What I've read, what I got from that specifically was I don't get the sense that she has qualms with there being nudity in movies, but she does say that one scene in the shower has a specifically like male point of view, like a male gaze to it, where it literally has nothing to do with the story whatsoever. Whereas like the other scenes in the movie that do have nudity in them directly leads to like the demise of a shitty dude. So like it does have more of a purpose, I think. Whereas that is just like nudity for nudity's sake, and that's about it. That's what I guess I personally have a harder time because like I stated at the beginning, like I'm just like not really into exploitation films just because of like, and not even necessarily like you have to kind of separate. Well, you kind of have to separate the idea of, you know, like nudity in films, like from a not exploitative standpoint. It's not like just because there's nudity there, but just from the basis of what an exploitation film is, it's cheap. You know, they hire very inexperienced people for cheap. You know, they can't like don't have any experience acting. They don't have a lot of money for effects, and they like kind of prop it up through this idea of like getting butts in the seats through things like violence and nudity. And I just like, that's not really my thing. And so when I'm looking at it, I guess, you know, we were talking about before another Roger Corman film directed by a woman was Humanoids from the Deep. And in Humanoids from the Deep, when we covered that, I was like, I can recognize here that the woman, the director, just regardless that she's a woman, she's like really trying to do her best with like this medium of like trying to make it something more than it just has to be. Like she like tried to make the craft like above and beyond. And it was only because Roger Corman literally hired a male director to film nudity and exploitative scenes and put it in there that it dropped the movie for me. I was like, now I don't think it's as good. Not anything from what she did because she did her best. And in this film, I don't really feel that. I feel like Randy said before, it's like very paint by numbers. And in that way, it's kind of like bothers me to hear her talk about it as if it's just kind of a stepping stone of like, yeah, it's not very pretty. It's not what I wanted to do, but it was my way to become a director. Almost like saying like, I know like it's exploitative and I didn't want to do it, but that's how I can like get mine. And I'm like, I don't know. That kind of rubs me wrong to hear it that way. Am I taking it wrong? Do y'all think?
I mean, I think that's that's what ties directly to the male directors. You know what I mean? Like male directors don't face the same scrutiny that were necessary. Like that's what she's rallying against. So to her, I feel like it's a defense of that. Like that. Look, if this is a valid career stepping stone, it's important for me. It's like you can like I do things for my work. I do creative work, but I do things for a company. I may not always love the company I'm doing work for. Like that's part of getting to do what you want to do for a living. Like so, you make small sacrifices every day, unless you're like independently wealthy or you're outsider artist just doing shit in the desert or some shit. Like you're beholden to somebody, and that's the commerce and art conversation over and over and over again with me, isn't it? God damn it.
It is, but it's valid. It's valid, man. I mean,
Designer Randy coming up again. Okay.
I gotta defend us poor sellouts. Like, what are we gonna do?
I guess that's where I feel conflicted because I would equally, and I do, anytime we have to cover an exploitative film on here and it's a male director, I'm like, this, I don't like this. I think it's shit. Yeah. I think they did a bad job. I think that they shouldn't be doing this, or like,
and you're like, welcome to make those criticisms.
Yeah. So like, I would equally, I don't think like, oh yeah, De Palma should be able to get his start in exploitation films and his are fine. It's like, it kind of bothers me a little bit to hear like, yeah, it kind of sucks, but like, that's how I'm going to be a director. So I did it. It's like,
but if you don't, she also may not have felt that she had as many opportunities given to her to get her foot in the door as a director, being part of any sort of minority group that isn't a white man in Hollywood who get handed projects a lot more often.
She wasn't even.
I find it hard to.
She had to take it. She had to make an opportunity
that's
for
true.
herself.
She did have to earn her way. Yeah.
I feel like I can't fault anybody for taking the bird in the hand. You know what I mean? Like she had ET, but she was going to be an editor. She doesn't want to be an editor. She wants to be a filmmaker, and she has an opportunity with Roger to have creative control over some artistic project with some caveats, and she did the equations, and that's what gave her a career and as a filmmaker. Maybe there was another path, but maybe there wasn't. You know, you take what you can get sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And here we are still talking about it today. Slumber Party Massacre. Also, I'm not 100% sure if what I'm about to say is correct, but I read this somewhere and I can't think of another one. So I don't know, correct me if it is wrong. How many slasher movies are there that exist that are directed by women? So Slumber Party Massacre 1, 2, and 3, all directed by females for sure. The remake that came out a couple years ago, I don't remember if it's a female director or not, but outside of those, I don't know that I can name another slasher movie with a female at the helm.
American Mary.
Yeah, I guess you could call that a slasher.
I just did a search, but I'm finding the ones that I have actually seen, so I can confirm that it's correct. Jennifer's Body,
American Psycho.
I wouldn't call
American Psycho 2.
Psycho a slasher, really, but yeah, I guess
Yeah.
you can. The lines aren't like drawn.
Yeah,
clear.
what's the definition?
Yeah.
Not a lot are coming up. One thing says Candyman 2021. Who was the director of that?
Yeah.
You need to call.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like, I know we covered this.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Or nothing if not prepared.
Slasher. Yeah. Not a lot.
Not a
Not a lot.
Short list. Yeah. So
Very short.
I just
list.
giving you all the horror movies made by women. Easier.
Yeah, it really is. It's like,
if you want to get one over on three idiot asshole dudes, this is the time. You could totally do that to us. We could do nothing about
dunk
it.
on our asses, please.
damn.
Yeah. Any other major points you guys want to touch on before we rate Slumber Party Massacre? No.
It's not really related to the movie, but it's just a funny fact if you want to hear it.
Yeah.
About the writer of this movie. Just because I work in a bookstore, Rita Mae Brown, who wrote the movie, is an author. And it always just tickles me that she wrote this film, and one of the biggest series of books we have is a cozy mystery series, which is written by her.
Nice.
But cozy mysteries are just like murder mysteries, like on the Hallmark Channel. There's like no blood, no guts, no gore. It's like the most wholesome things ever. And then she also wrote this movie.
That's
I just
awesome.
love that.
Have you read any of them?
I love a wholesome murder. I love them.
Nice.
I've read some cozy mysteries, not hers, but they're like, think Murder, She Wrote. That's
Who
like,
stole my cat?
Gotcha.
basically.
That's awesome. I had no idea. Thanks for sharing. Let's go ahead and rate this movie. We're going to do out of 5. Vicky, why don't you kick us off? How do you feel about Slumber Party Massacre?
I'm feeling like a 3.5 out of 5. Like, I think it's good. It's a fun, entertaining watch for when I'm in the mood for a slasher. But yeah, it's not a lot of depth to it. So it's just a fun watch.
Okay. Awesome. Juice, what about you?
Again and again, I say, like, I'm not super into the like cheaper exploitative, even like slasher films that are like very campy and a little over the top. They can be fun to watch. It's definitely a lot less enjoyable when I'm just watching them by myself, like not with friends and
That's
like
the most
laughing
fun.
and enjoying the goofy situations. And so, these types of films, they're made to be made on the cheap. And so for me, like, evaluated them, it's like, there's not a lot of good acting here. There's not a lot of good depth. There is some cool kills. And I think it holds up to other films of this time. It's just not my bag. So, because of that, I like the kills, and I like, how the kind of killer gets it in the end, and like the kind of wrap up of it. It's not a Michael Myers. I don't know, how do they do like Slumber Party Massacre 2? Is it just somebody different?
Oh boy.
Yeah. Oh my.
Oh boy.
You thought Henry Rollins was the rock and roll of this series? You are wrong.
Okay.
It's
So, maybe I'll just have to
It's
explore.
basically a
Like Greaser
musical,
Billy Idol.
and the killer has a full-blown electric guitar with a drill on the end of it that he kills people with.
Okay.
And he's a dream man, isn't he? Am I remembering that correctly? He's into all his dreams in some capacity.
He's a dream man?
I think he's a dream man.
Don't
Like
worry
Freddy?
about it.
Okay.
He's a
All right.
dreamster.
Just gotta watch
Well,
it.
so like Randy said, I think it's a paint by numbers, and of that, it's fine. And I really appreciate it. They kept it tight, 77 minutes, so I didn't feel like I was like, oh, I have to like endure this. It like went by super quick. It's like, there's some cool kills. The freaking peeping toms get there, so good on that, and stuff like the whole creeper neighbor gets his. So overall, I think I'd give it a 2 with the half star for the Yabos. So 2 points.
2.5. Okay, from your boy Juice.
I can't do this math.
Bob, out of 5, where are you gonna rate?
English, Doc. We ain't scientists.
We ain't
Slumber Party
scientists.
Massacre.
I would consider myself like generally a fan of slashers, even ones that are a little more like down the middle, meat and potato. I enjoy just throwing them on as like a background watch, and I just kind of dig them, generally speaking. I think this movie has some decent comedy. My favorite line in this whole movie is like when the pizza dude's dead, one of the girls like picks the pizza up off him. She goes, "Oh my god, he's so cold," and the other girl goes, "But is the pizza?" And then they start
That's a
eating
good
that
moment.
shit.
That was good.
I thought that was fantastic. And
Forgot about
the one of the girls like gets stuffed in the refrigerator, which is horrific, but the other one like keeps opening and closing it, which is like a funny little like practical physical gag. The spot where like one of the girls grabs like a circular saw in the basement, runs up the stairs and gets yanked down by the electrical cord that's plugged into it. There's like there's some physical comedy happening.
There is,
in
yeah.
here. And I think it works pretty well. There's a handful of decent kills. Them opening the door and the pizza dude's eyes are drilled out is like very striking. The giant ass drill I think is extremely memorable as well. So I mean there's a decent amount of comedy and gore happening in here that I think is enough to keep me engaged with the movie. I actually think there's like 12 kills. It's definitely a body count movie. There's a lot of deaths happening. Unfortunately, a lot of the kills do happen off screen. I think if they would have jazzed up some of that gore, maybe it would have gone against the whole feminist mentality of the movie, but it probably would have made it a little more visually engaging, I think. The score, I think, is fantastic. I already said that, but I want to reiterate. I really like it. Casio fucks. You heard it here, folks. Yeah, and there's just a bunch of like other small little things that I think you could read into like the feminist mentality going into the making of this movie with like just like small little like side characters like the telephone repair woman. Like, what other movie is there a telephone repair woman? It's always like a dude with his asshole hanging out when he bends over. With
his asshole hanging out.
It is.
Sir, holes.
Your whole
This man
ass.
has a condition. Don't approve of your mockery.
One of the girls gets like crept up early on in the movie by her boyfriend to like scare her, and she grabs his ass and throws him over her fucking shoulder. And like, there's another woman who's like installing a peephole, which is like kind of a jump scare situation. I don't know, just like little things like that I picked up on, anyways, that I might not have if I wasn't thinking of watching it through like a bit of a feminist lens that I think is interesting. Also, the girls just like hanging out, having a good time, like smoking and drinking, eating pizza and Twinkies, and talking about like the size of dudes' dicks and stuff. Like, it's just, I don't know, like you don't get a whole lot of that in other slasher movies. Anyways, I dig this movie pretty well. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5 from your boy Bob. Randeezy, how do you feel about Slumber Party Massacre?
That got
Pull
me.
yourself together, Randy.
That got me. Yeah, I think actually, like I've kind of had a few turns of changes of mind here. The way you were just describing the comedy, I like honestly, when you put it out there and like list those comedic moments like that, there is some comedy in here, and it just for whatever reason, like it didn't all hit me as uproarious, and maybe that was kind of the problem for me, but. They do try and go for more comedy than I gave it credit for. They left more comedy in, I guess I should say. Yeah, I think this is definitely like story-wise sort of down the middle. But I also, the other thing I changed my mind about, I think, is that, I knew this had a reputation because a female-led slasher film, very unique for its time, all that stuff. But like, I didn't know about like necessarily all of the subtext that I was going to get. And there isn't a ton, and it's a little bit one note, but it's there. And I'm like on the record as being like a guy who likes to chew on the fat of a movie. Like this conversation is probably, unfortunately, more fun for me than the movie was. But it's still a fun conversation, guys. Don't worry about that. So, but
I was worried.
Yeah, don't worry. It's a great conversation. So that's not a terrible situation to be in. But no, I think that part sort of pushes it over for me, and kind of like learning about the context of it doesn't necessarily always influence how I feel about a movie. But I think in this case it does. Its reputation was one thing, but actually the nuts and bolts of how this was put together, and just like the math equations that are going on behind the scenes, recontextualize it in a positive way for me and make it more interesting than I think it would have been otherwise. So, I mean, that's both ding and credit. Kind of a weird situation. I think overall, like that comedy revelation and everything else pushed it a little bit further up for me. I'm going to give it a 3 flat. I was right in the middle zone of 2.5 before, but I think between those two things, it pushes me up a little bit.
Right on. With Randy's 3, that's going to put our aggregate at a 3 even.
Whoa.
I do, real quick, just before I forget, I do want to mention, like, if you guys have not seen the remake, I recommend checking that out. It came out.
That was like 2021.
21. Yeah, I think it was 21. And it was actually, you haven't seen it, Vicky? I recommend checking it out. So it as I describe it, it's going to sound terrible because I believe it was made. It was made for the Sci-Fi Channel.
Open on Earth 2035 AD.
So it was made for the Sci-Fi Channel, I believe. And so there is no nudity in it because it was on TV and whatnot. There is a decent amount of gore happening, and I do think it sort of leans into the feminist ideas that the original plays with, and I think is a bit more successful in certain ways. And it leans into the comedy more too, I would say. So if the original is sort of up your alley, I would say check out the remake. I think it's a lot better than I would have anticipated, knowing it was like a fucking sci-fi movie for sure. But check it out.
I seem to recall seeing that it had quite at least at one point had a really strong Rotten Tomatoes score. So if that matters to people, I hope it does. Because Bob, what's our next segment?
Let's talk about Rotten Tomatoes.
Whoa, segue Randy over here.
Ooh,
All right, folks, this is our Rotten Tomatoes segment in which I'm going to get these folks to guess within the best of their abilities what the aggregate positive score is for Slumber Party Massacre. That's going to be critics first and then users. We're going to start today, as we usually do, with the critics. There are only 20 reviews accredited to this film from critics on RottenTomatoes.com. So keep that in mind in your equationing. We'll start with, Vicky, we'll give you a second to think that one over. I want to throw you in the deep end.
Appreciate it.
Bob,
hi.
Let's start with you.
Okay.
What do you think that the aggregate positive score is for Slumber Party Massacre 82?
This cannot be a critical darling. I just don't see that happening in the slightest bit. I'll go with a 58, please.
58. All right, 58%. And how about Juice? Let's go to Juice. What do you think that's going to fall?
Bob, that's quite favorable. I don't know. From the critics standpoint, I don't think the critics are going to rate this very high. Maybe higher on the Oozer scores, but I would say probably the critics. I'm going to go low on this one. I'm going to say 35.
35 percentile. Okay. Vicky, all right. Let's see what you got.
That's about where I was going to go. I was going to guess something like 32 or 31.
All right.
You want to go with 31?
Yeah, I'll go 31.
Okay. 31 it is. Out of those 3 scores, gonna do a quick math. I'm not good at it. Okay. Looks like Juice is going to take this one. Oh! It is a 45%. So you guys were right in that zone. Right. It was a
40,
good calls 45? Overall. Bob wasn't in the zone. Bob was way off the zone.
Damn!
Too hopeful on this one. Whoa, but that's a hell you from Shibai, Bob. Whoa.
All right.
Moving on.
All right.
We're going to go in reverse order for this audience score. There are over 5,000 audience scores here, a significant increase. So a little more scattershot maybe, or a little bit, tighter to what you think the aggregate might be. So let's start with Vicky. What do you think that these users gave this film?
Users. I'm going to go with I'm thinking like a 68. I don't think it's going to be that high.
68. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Juice, let's go to you. What do you think about the users in this one?
Yeah, that's a good guess. I think it's going to be like capped a little bit, but I think it's going to be significantly higher than like 45. So I'll go 60.
60. Okay. Bob, lay it on me.
I think this is going to be somewhat high because there is I feel like there's a lot of buzz around it. Like there's a lot of love among the horror community. Can I go with, let's get crazy. I'm going to take an 80, please.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
Wow.
I mean, I guess
Somebody call the police.
I'm crazy.
You're crazy, man. You're
This was the insanity I was promised.
yeah, here it is, 80%.
Oh my God. What an insane lunatic.
Damn.
So let me do yeah. Unfortunate for everybody except for Juice today. Juice is going to sweep today. This is a 46%.
Oh,
Justin
wow.
was
So they're like the
vibrating.
same, right?
They're 45 and 46. I was shocked, but then it occurs to me, like I was thinking about it, I was like, I guess it makes sense though, because like even today, like users, like they come in with their biases. They're very much more volatile. And this is a movie that its primary talking point is a divisive topic. So you already lose like 50% of people right there if you think of it that way.
Haters gonna hate.
I think it's like super interesting that I just got a hell you sweet, Bob.
It's not that interesting. It's not that interesting.
All right.
Well, I'm sure that you are very pleased with that outcome, Juice, but let's see what some of the critics had to say. We're going to find a negative review and pray that it is humorous. That's the goal. It works out maybe 40% of the time. All right. Here we go. Here's a negative review. He strain between content and tone leaves it feeling like no other slasher film of that period. And while it also leaves it more frustrating and ineffective, it stands out. What's happening? Did I have a stroke?
You're having a stroke.
Okay, I don't feel as bad for not understanding a word that you just read.
I read it verbatim because
That's a negative?
I could not interpret it.
That's a negative?
It's a negative. He strained between content and tone, leaves it feeling. This is not, there's no periods or capitals, by the way. He strained between content and tone, leaves it feeling like no other slasher film of that period. And while it also leaves more frustrating and ineffectives, it stands out. ... It stands out.
It stands
I get
out.
it. Y'all don't get it? I get it.
I think we have a winner. I'm not going back to the well. Today we got a funny one.
Yeah. It stands
Maybe it's
out.
English as a second language thing. I don't know, but
Maybe.
it sure is difficult for me to understand.
It does stand out.
All right.
For sure.
And those tomatoes are nice and rotten. All done.
Cool. I do have a little bit of trivia left over, so let's go ahead and jump into trivia real quick.
It's totally time for trivia.
All right. So yeah, we already mentioned Rita Mae Brown wrote the screenplay for this movie. It was intended to be a parody of a teen slasher movie, and it was originally titled Sleepless Nights. When she submitted it to the producers, like we already mentioned, they filmed it as if it were not a parody, retitling it Slumber Party Massacre, of course. And yeah, this does claim that because of that, the movie holds a lot more humor than is intended by a lot of the other slasher movies of the genre. But like, I don't know how much you can like really confirm that, but sure, it makes sense to me, I guess. That the name Sleepless Nights was used to convince the homeowners of the houses that you see in the movie to let the film crew in and actually use their houses to be in the movie. Because Roger Corman hypothesized that if they said, yeah, we're shooting a movie called Slumber Party Massacre in your house, nobody would be like, yeah, come on in. Let's do that.
Are you kidding? Who would say no?
Yeah, right. Amy Holden Jones recalled how Roger Corman would occasionally deny their daily requests for a generator, adding, "You can make do," which is nuts. Can
you make electricity?
Well, she does go on to say this. This was in the commentary, which is on the Blu-ray. She does say they needed power one day for interior shots. So one of the electricians on set had to scale the utility pole and tap into the public power. And she said when they ran enough lights, you could see the street lights in, I guess, Mar Vista, which is where they shot, start to dim because they were siphoning power.
Dude,
that's wild.
Thank God Corman found movies, because if he wasn't, he would just be an extreme couponer or some shit. Like, that would be his whole job.
Hey, you can make a deal. Damn, dude. It's like, what would the liability be on like some dude scaling a pole and like getting shocked and dying versus
dude,
like,
liability? That's union talk, pal. Get out of here.
That would be extremely problematic for sure, especially today. That's like millions of dollars worth of fines. That would ruin you.
Yeah. Things are a lot simpler back in the day. Huh,
you could just steal city power, whatever. No,
that's the America.
The good old days.
Your boy Michael Villella, who plays Russ Thorne, based his physical movements on a peacock. Apparently, I don't know if I pick up on that necessarily.
Like doing one of these.
Randy's about to pass out.
Well, that's an odd choice.
That's the red shirt. He's peacocking. I get it.
That explain why he does his neck jolting out like that. And he does the D. Reynolds eating formation.
Dude, nothing more intimidating than a peacock. I mean, that, that's terrifying.
Peacock soaked in denim. Horrifying.
It's a psyop. They're just trying to get us to go watch NBC later.
I don't know
Denim
why.
Peacock, new band name, called it.
Denim Peacock. Wow, you better play the bluesiest white boy blues you can possibly muster.
I'm gonna play the drill tar.
Damn.
I love this band. I want to be in it. Denim Dan's on board. I'm
You're on the washboard, Randy.
Randeezy's on the washboard.
I got a jug too if you want it.
Sounds
you
sexual.
Can make do.
You can make two.
Your boy Jim Wynorski, who is a director we've talked about on the show before, most recently Chopping Mall, director of Chopping Mall, and also everybody's fan favorite series, the Blair Witch Project, all of them. He released Cheerleader Massacre in 2003, which was originally planned as a fourth movie in the Slumber Party franchise, which I guess they retitled thinking better of that. But there's a fan remix that apparently exists, which adds the score of this movie to Cheerleader Massacre. And there's some sort of like connective prologue that they added to like make it work into the Slumber Party franchise. So I'm sure you have to pirate that. I really don't think you can buy that anywhere, but apparently it exists if you're interested.
I'm sure we can find it somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure. The last
behind your ear.
Whoa,
sounds like a challenge to me, Bob.
Oh, the edit. Oh, shit.
The last bit of trivia I have here is just about Rita Mae Brown as an author. This comes from Wikipedia. She's an American feminist writer, best known apparently for her coming-of-age autobiographical novel called Ruby Fruit Jungle. She was active in a number of civil rights campaigns and criticized the marginalization of lesbians within feminist groups. Brown received the Pioneer Award for Lifetime Achievement at the Lambda Literary Awards back in 2015. So she did more than just write a parody that didn't get made into a parody. So yeah, that's badass. Okay. That's badass.
You know, it's good when you can do more than that. Getting an award, that's a really incredible thing. Like the Corman school, if you will. It's like it's got so many feathers in its cap. It's very fucking impressive.
Yeah, you gotta dig your way
for
out of
better
that,
and for worse sometimes.
Out of the fertilizer that is the Corman camp of filmmaking, and then you grow into a beautiful tree.
There is a lot of shit.
A lot of shit. But yeah, that's all the trivia that I have. Let's talk about a very easy Cooter of the week, I think.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the week.
That's my favorite bump to play for first-time guests.
It's got to be jarring. Like, what the fuck show am I on?
Where the fuck am I? How did I get
I need an adult.
I got a bad connection. I don't see you guys.
I'm just along for the ride, guys.
Going through a tunnel.
What did I say yes to? Fuck. Juice. Hopefully,
like nothing I'd ever smelled before in my life.
Yeah, that is us. Hopefully, to clarify, what is a cooter and why do we hunt them?
Oh, Cooter's a character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a cooter, but we want the cooter with the most points. The 5 points of cooterdom are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall look and attire, and overall patheticness. We might stuff the jail today, boys.
Hack them in. They're going to be riding on each other's laps. To the jail.
I think we got quite a bit to choose from here. I don't even know their distinct names. Should we just wrap up like the Peeping Toms? Can we?
I think you can pod the
together.
Two teenage boys.
So sexual deviance. Check.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Oh my yes.
Peeping.
Did I go to heaven? Fucking that line. It's like
overall patheticness. I think they hit quite high on that.
Yes.
Yeah, they got super easy too.
They go down pretty weak.
Looking at attire, were they wearing anything goofy? They just got that feathery, 80s hair kicking. I know it's of the times.
It's prep of the time.
Yeah. Idiot.
What's the matter with you, preppy?
Manipulation.
Yeah, they manipulate their way to a party they're not invited to, and reminded of that.
That's true. Power to deliberately scare them.
That's true.
Yeah. Trish is very forgiving, or whatever her name was.
And then smug arrogance. So maybe not looking at attire, but they're going to hit the 4 points. So we got any specific smug arrogance.
I don't know how strong of a point this is, but it's maybe a minor one. I feel a little bit like it's pretty arrogant as a high school child to approach a full-grown woman at her job and attempt to ask her out and ask her if she likes younger men. I don't know if I witnessed that in the wild, I would cringe outside of my body. It would be terrible.
Damn.
Fucking Dr. Strange over there. Okay, yeah. That's a good point. Okay, so 4 points for the peepers. We want to talk about Henry Rollins.
Sure. The denim driller.
Every
sexual deviance
has a thorn.
Sexual deviance. This guy? What? Where are you getting that
from?
I guess
what's sexual about drilling people with a long drill?
He doesn't actually speak, does he?
Yeah, dude. At the
He
very end.
has that like
at the end
that thesis statement. I love you.
Takes
a lot
Oh,
of
that's
you,
right.
You're
When he's
gonna
talking
love
about
it.
bodies and that's right. That's right.
The fucking Cooter handbook lines.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that scene. That was a super creepy scene, actually.
Yeah.
That's to me the the beating heart of everything in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what we say that's partially like smug arrogance too.
Oh yeah, delusional arrogance maybe.
Okay. And then some smug arrogance mixed in there as well. So
and the attire
saying you're gonna love it.
He's got the attire.
Is a very
much denim.
Yeah.
So much denim.
Overloaded on the denim.
Canadian tuxedo, but
Peacocking
American
over there.
intentions.
Peacocking.
Oh my god, what a perfect log line. Holy shit.
And then what about an old creeper neighbor?
I think he's a low-lying Cooter, maybe.
Yeah.
You think you had something to say to that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely creepy. I think arrogance, just dipping in her house and chilling and scaring the crap out of her for no reason. And the audacity of walking around with a knife to kill snails. I don't know. I feel like that's pretty arrogant.
Yeah.
That also strikes patheticness if I may add to that.
I would agree.
You can't kill a snail without a fucking
figured out a
machete.
better way.
He said he killed like 53 that night or something. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
That man is not well.
I guess that would be a lot of salt. He can afford that.
If the driller curly hadn't shown up a week later, they would have found him like hugging his mom's corpse in the basement or some shit. I'm convinced.
Damn.
So patheticness and some arrogance. Yeah, I don't think he's manipulating necessarily. Not that I remember.
I don't think so.
No, I think he's pretty oblivious. Is kind of the
like
one
a
word I would
Cooter
give
light.
to him.
Maybe a little look in attire. He's looking goopy as shit.
He's like a Cooter crony. He's not the chief Cooter.
Cooter light. All right. I don't think there's anybody else. So we got him, right?
Yeah, I think that's about everything.
Probably. Yeah.
Oh, what about we could say maybe the boyfriend. He might be another Cooter light.
Oh yeah,
kind of
redheaded peeping toms. They're all the same.
Okay,
they're all the same.
High school.
I don't know. I don't think he did anything particularly bad, but he had that like fucking smirk. Like that's like rock bottom in your gut. That's a Cooter right there.
He was super manipulative, like
very coercive.
He's a come on babe guy. That's true.
He's a come on babe guy.
You gotta say that with the correct emphasis.
He got his decapitation was pretty badass in that movie. Actually, she goes back to find him, and his head just rolls off. Yeah.
You ever go in for the kiss and his head rolls off? Classic high school.
There, a million times.
Coming of age story.
See it every day.
Wholesome.
All right, yeah. I think we did some good work here today.
We did.
I agree. Lock him up.
The quality is questionable. We got your boy Russ Thorn. Every Russ has its thorns. Let's go ahead and chill the fuck out. Let our hair down, kick our shoes off, and talk about what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Vicky, why don't you kick us off? You've been watching anything else cool you want to talk about?
Not a lot this week. I did rewatch The Burbs though with my patrons for a movie night last night, which really needed that. I hadn't seen that movie in a little bit and forgot how much fun that was.
Satan is my pal.
Yeah, man, I really want to watch The Burbs now. It feels kind of like a good time for it too. Maybe a little later in spring, or like because it's just like so.
You have a very like seasonally driven horror schedule. It's like your personal horoscope.
Yeah, it's got to fit. It's got to fit the season.
It's about the vibes, man.
I see we're in Slumber Party Massacre season. Dreary.
The pizza dude survives that one, so bonus. Anything else, Vicky?
No, that's all I've been watching. I've been catching up on reading a lot. I'm reading White Horse, which is a horror novel that just came out. Highly recommend if you like kind of like ghost psychological stories, maybe like kind of indigenous folklore mixed in there too. It's really good.
Cool. Nice. Cool. All right. Nice. Randeezy, what you been watching?
What have I been watching? Well, a few things, but small doses for the most part. I've watched some more Junji Ito Maniac, and it's starting to like really kick off for me. I think it's like, I don't think it's necessarily going to be my favorite anything. Certainly not from Junji Ito, who's like, they just can't capture that style in a way that
I agree.
that works. Yeah, I know you agree.
You got a video on it.
No, I think it's just like that's the only thing that's really holding it back. The first episode really threw me because it had so much comedy in it. I was like, is this what the whole thing is going to be? Very comedy driven horror, which could be okay, but wasn't what I was hoping for from Junji. So I was excited that it's starting to get more into that like low end cosmic stuff. Set small. I like that. Small and then big in some cases. I'm excited to go to the next episode of that. I watched Del Toro's Pinocchio finally, and buddy, that is a fucking beautiful movie. I have like the modern equivalent or whatever they do to make stop motion as good as it is now. It blows my fucking mind. The shit that they did in that movie through that technique it was just incredible. The story was pretty by the numbers, but it kind of like, it's like the saddest possible version of that story. Man, Geppetto is the most tragic figure in fucking literature or something. Like, it's crazy. It's a good movie though. I'm almost done with Legend of Zelda Minish Cap, which I started playing on the Switch recently. It was a dark spot in my otherwise impeccable Zelda history. I'm a big fan of that series, so I was excited to play it. It's really fun. It's a lot of fun. I don't know what else to say. It's a good time. I rewatched Big with Tom Hanks. Still a fucking great movie. The Cell, Howard Shore did that soundtrack, and I was just thinking we just did The Cell, which he also did the soundtrack for, and how fucking different those soundtracks are. It's crazy. If you watch Big, it's the most like, I don't know. It's tough to just, it's just so like light and bumpy, and then The Cell is just like wailing on different fucking pieces of trash into the microphone and shit. It's crazy. Yeah, good movie. And then started Poker Face with Natasha Lyonne, the Ryan Johnson and mystery series. It's very, very, very good so far. Halfway through episode 2. It's a very good show. I'm enjoying it quite a lot, like I thought I would. I found out recently that I'm just a Ryan Johnson guy, I guess, which, means that I'm basically like at risk of being murdered at all times, I think. So good luck to me.
And
that's
Sith
my what you've been
Lord,
watching.
probably.
Yeah, someone who definitely fancies themselves one.
Yeah, cool. Juice, what you been watching?
I watched a newer horror film called Baby Ruby, which Vicky has a fantastic video on. So you should check that out. I also recorded a mini cast on it, but it probably won't be coming out till like next month sometime, just because we got some backlogged. But it's really good. I recommend that you check it out. It does a really good job. It's got our boy Jon Snow in it, and it does a really good job of capturing like the horrors of being a new mother. It's like did a really good job of that. So I thought that was a really good film. I watched a Korean film. It's on Netflix, a newer film, sci-fi-ish kind of film called Chung-Yi, and it was okay. Rough on the graphics on that one, but they've got some interesting like AI kind of ideas that they toss around in there, and it wasn't as like action and sci-fi heavy as I thought it was going to be. And so like I like the middle section pretty good of that movie, but just okay. I watched for the first time ever What Women Want with Mel Gibson. That was a concession watch.
Wow.
The 90s were weird.
You went to the concession stand?
Yeah. The 90s were weird, but essentially Mel Gibson gets shocked while he's trying on women's clothes, and then he can hear what women think and uses that to manipulate them. So that's cool.
Man, how many jokes about shoes are in that movie?
Oh, man. I've been playing some video games. I played Mario Odyssey for the first time on my Switch, and I was kind of disappointed in that. I don't know if like there's just a lot of buzz around it as like being like one of the best kind of 3D Marios, but I found it like a little thin on like some of the designs as worlds, and they didn't have a ghost world. I was like so disappointed in like there's no ghost house situation there. And then also I finished that and then playing some Smash Bros. And the only other thing I've been reading is the Dark Side of Soul here in Korea released their second comic book. They had a release on Saturday. Got to go hang out with them and pick up their new comic and read that and really enjoyed it. It kind of follows the same format as the first one, 3 folktale driven stories, dark stories like Korean lore. And they did a good job on that one. And they're going to release the third one, eventually have like a little trilogy. So yeah, I've been reading that.
The art in that thing is really great.
Yeah,
you gave us a copy of that. It's got some fucking beautiful art. I've not completed the stories yet, so I'm gonna like reserve on that. But I'm psyched to get another batch on my hands.
Yeah, they had custom like food for it too. There's one of the stories where like, it's about kind of like it's got this spin on like blackberries and stuff like that, and they had this like blackberry margarita, and it was dope.
Nice.
So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun hanging out with them on Saturday. But yeah, that's all I've been watching and reading and playing. Bob, what you been watching?
Oh, hey. Just a couple quick hitters. Hadn't been watching a whole lot this week. I did revisit The Faculty earlier today, which holds up still. Definitely a big fan of that one.
Just covered that, Bob.
I know. It was like last summer, so it wasn't that long ago. It's good, man. Check it out if you haven't seen The Faculty. It's one of those like post-Scream slashers that I think holds up pretty well. Also, I just randomly threw this on. It's a Netflix show called Somebody Feed Phil. I just wanted to have like some sort of food show on. I just kind of dig that kind of thing. And it was pretty good. I only watched like 2 episodes of it so far. It's this dude Phil. I can't remember his last name. I didn't know
Margera.
No. Different Phil.
Not related to them.
Well, the don't feed Phil thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know
okay.
what you're thinking.
Forgot about
That's
that.
a throwback, dude. Damn, yeah.
Holy shit, dude. That blew
We're
my
not going to
mind.
feed Phil for like 20 days. This is going to be funny as
He's
fuck.
gonna die.
Dude talks like
I got a Shane in my basement right now.
he's got a mouthful of gravy or something. He's trying not to spill it. Oh my God, we're not going to
You sound like me, can't you? You're gonna die, my face.
God damn.
Ape's going ape shit in there. That's crazy.
Where's the Lambo? Somebody Feed Phil is what I watched. This dude, he created Everybody Loves Raymond, and I'm sure he's done other stuff too. But he's got this food show for some reason. He just travels around the world and eats great food and talks about the city that he's in and stuff. And that's very up my alley. So of the 2 episodes I watched, New York and New Orleans, both were pretty well done. So I'll probably watch a little bit more.
Is there
of
a
that.
better job available to a
No,
human being?
Probably
Can't
not.
think of one.
Podcasting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. After this, I'm going to go drink some Mai Tais on the beach. I don't know about you guys.
We're out here living
Put
the
it on the
dream.
card. The company expenses that.
Bottomless Mai Tais for my boy Randeezy. It's so be easy. It's so be easy being Randeezy. That's really all I've been watching. That's about it. Let's get into our final segment of the show, which is, of course, our Hotline Screams.
Hotline Scream.
If you are listening and would like to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. Last week, we had Caitlin sit in with us, and she threw out, she requested a bunch of fuck, marry, kills be submitted from listeners, and they did oblige. So we got 2 voicemails, and then Caitlin also sent in an email with some fuck, marry, kills on it. But let's start with the voicemails first. We're going to hear from our boy.
It's going to take hours.
Right. We're going to hear from my boy Brandon first. Let's hear what he has to say.
Yo, what up? It's your boy, Brandon. Just sitting here enjoying the fine film, Slumber Party Massacre, freaking Yellow Central, popping a Q-Che. Anyways, calling in for the fuck, marry, kill prompt. We're going condiments, baby. Mayonnaise, cheese whiz, ketchup. Bam. What you gonna do? I know what I'm gonna do. I'm a fuck cheese whiz, because I mean, I'm gonna marry mayonnaise, because get that shit all in my body every day. And unfortunately, ketchup, she gone. So excited to hear what you guys think of that one. Cool. It's been nice. I'll catch you on the other side. I love you.
Sorry, guys. I've been experimenting with playing all voicemails on half speed. That's my bad.
The ever sober Brandon. Thank you for calling in.
Teetotaling Brandon.
Ya boy, sober Brandon. Yeah, fuck, marry, kill, cheese whiz, mayo, and ketchup. Vicky, you wanna kick us off? What would you fuck, marry, and kill?
Sure.
Don't think about the mechanics. It's just
okay. I will just gonna have to kill cheese whiz. I'm vegan, so that's an easy one. We're gonna get rid of that one.
Is that it's not a vegan product then? Like I don't think it's real cheese, is it?
I don't know.
I'll do some research.
Who knows?
You can kill it either way.
Either
on
way,
the safe side. On the safe side. Is it better that it's not real cheese though? Is it better?
Yeah. No. The answer is no. Affirmatively no.
Yeah, I'm gonna kill that.
One of the Google searches is Cheese Whiz healthy?
No.
You poor soul. If I drink 8 cups of Cheese Whiz a day, am I gonna live forever?
God.
Don't need to Google.
Not vegan, Randy.
Okay, good to know.
Okay, all right, I'm safe.
Good call.
Technically, neither is mayonnaise, but
oh yeah, you could do olive oil mayo.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, in that case,
Mano.
I don't know why this makes a difference. Oh, fuck mayonnaise. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? I guess that means
once you go mayo, you stay yo. I don't know.
That's the thing people say.
That's a common phrase.
And I'll marry ketchup. It's the most basic condiment. Makes sense.
It's good. It's good shit.
More of a
yeah.
Ray and Deezy, who are you fucking marrying and killing?
My God. I think I agree, except I am going to make one alteration. I definitely want to kill Cheese Whiz. There's just not enough applications that I find tasty with Cheese Whiz. A few things I'll miss, maybe like the Phillies and things like that, but that's a pretty rare breed for me to go to in the first place. Pretty rare well. So kill that. I think I would probably fuck around with ketchup. I like ketchup, but there's only a few things that I like it on, mostly French fries, and French fries are great, and they're great with ketchup too. They can live without it. I'd prefer to have it. And then Mary is going to go to mayo, and it's specifically because mayo is the base for so many delicious, horrible for you pasta salads and shit like that. So I want that by my side. I want that in my lunch pail every day. You know what I'm saying? All right,
pasta salad.
Signing off.
Thanks, Randy. Juice, what about you?
I'll kill Cheese Whiz and I will marry ketchup. I feel like that's something you could mostly have every day. Like
I took you for more of a catsup guy.
Catsup, my boy Catsup. And then I guess fuck mayonnaise, because I'm not always like a big mayonnaise guy, but sometimes you can indulge, slap that on a messy Sammy or something like that,
Talk
Sounds
dirty to me, damn.
Robert,
messy Sammy.
Robert, what you going with?
I gotta show a little bit of love to Cheese Whiz. I almost never eat it, but I do enjoy it whenever I do, just on crackers or whatever. So it's once in a while, it's okay to fuck around with some Cheese Whiz. So I'm gonna fuck Cheese Whiz. I'm gonna kill mayo. I'm just not.
Oh God, yes, come with me.
I'm not a mayo guy unless it is in like a salad type situation. Ray and Deezy brought that up, but outside of that, I'm not really very into mayo. And I'm gonna marry ketchup because, like, come on, it's great. You gotta have it. You guys
go with the safe. You gotta have it.
You gotta have it.
You gotta
have it. Thanks for calling, Sober Brandon. Love to hear from you. Next up, we're gonna hear from our boy Matt. Let's hear what Matt has to say.
Hey guys, this is Matt from Jacksonville. I got a fuck, marry, kill for y'all. This was inspired by Bob's Daddy Kink. I'm gonna talk about the cop dads from the horror trinity. So you have Lieutenant Thomas from Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and 3. You have Sheriff Brickham from Halloween, and you have Sheriff Garris from Friday the 13th 6. Jason Lives. I believe he is the fellow that got folded in half and killed. So let me know which one you're laying it to, which one you're putting the ring on, and which one you're breaking the neck of. Bye.
So,
what a deep hole of a fuck, marry, kill.
Thanks for calling, Matt. I love this prompt. I need to clarify one thing he said. He said Sheriff Brickham from Halloween. I believe he means Sheriff Brackett from Halloween.
Yeah.
Just to clarify.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lieutenant Thomas is Nancy's father in Nightmare on Elm Street, played by John Saxon. This dude who plays Sheriff Garris in Friday Part 6, I don't recognize him, but he's got a thick stash for sure and some curly hair. And then I feel like most people... I had to
look him up.
I feel like most people probably can conjure Sheriff Brackett. He's the guy that scares everybody in the movie. It's Halloween. Everybody's entitled to one good scare. That guy can't get the fucking sentence out. He's in the original Halloween, and then of course in Halloween 2018, and Halloween Kills. I think he's in Kills as well. Anyway,
yes.
Who are we fucking?
He's the one that utters that famous line
again.
Now we're the monsters.
Now we're the monsters. Oh boy!
Or what? When? Oof.
Everybody,
boys, we got 6 months. Tone down.
6 months left in this episode.
Yes. Everybody's entitled to one good fuck, says Sheriff Brackett. All right, fuck, marry, kill. Randeezy, why don't you kick us off first this time? Who you fucking marrying and killing?
Sure, yeah. I'm definitely gonna kill Garrus because I don't remember him enough, and also I looked him up and I get the impression that he left no impression. So gonna kill that guy. My fuck is going to be Brackett. He's to me like sort of he's the real prototype of the to me, I don't know, because Halloween is the prototype. It feels right that he's sort of like he's the guy, he's the dependable one on that level. But I gotta marry Saxon. He's like the best cop actor. Period. He's fucking great. He's not just like he does that role in Black Christmas as well, and I'm sure others that I'm totally forgetting. I just, for me, like as much as he's not, I don't know. I kind of feel the same way about him, I guess, as I do about Brackett, but he's more storied, I guess, is why I feel more drawn to that.
Okay.
So I'm marrying the guy. Fucking stop me. Try and stop me.
Her dad, Nancy's dad. That's who you're marrying. Okay.
Yeah.
Juice is baffled. All right, Juice.
Going to the chapel.
Why don't you go next? Who are you fucking marrying and killing?
Well, I would kill him because that dude just doesn't fucking listen, right?
Yeah.
He just doesn't listen, puts her in the house all alone, just never fucking listening. So fuck him, and then I'll marry Brackett because he'll support you. He listens, he's supportive. He
ignores the weed smell in your car.
Yeah, exactly. So I will marry him, and then I don't remember the other guy from Friday the 13th 6 either, but he does have a stash, so guess I'm getting a mustache ride there. So fucking that guy.
You like a tickle on your pickle?
So don't know who that is. So
oh boy.
One night stand with that guy, I guess. So here we go.
If you had to get all the way to part 6 before you get your iconic police character, he's probably not iconic at that point.
Working with what I got here, okay?
We all? Bob, fill us out here.
Well, I was gonna let Vicky go.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vicky.
Well, Vicky's
whose dad are you fucking marrying and killing?
Oh man, so many great options here. I think I'm gonna also have to kill Garrus because I had to look that up as soon as I heard the name because don't remember at all. Don't remember at all. I think I will marry Brackett only because seems dependable to me, and I feel like that's what you want in a marriage. I don't really know though. And I guess that means I'm fucking John Saxon, which I guess could be okay. Cause I agree. I think he's kind of a dick, especially in Nightmare on Elm Street, but he also, he puts, he's okay with putting bars on windows. So I feel like maybe there's he's a little freaky. So that could be okay.
All right.
There you go. Saxon's got a fat life. He does.
Don't we all?
Damn.
Bob.
Yeah, I'm gonna kill Garrus because I can barely remember that character at all, to be honest. I think I'm gonna fuck around with some Brackett because he's he's famous. He's in the Halloween franchise. And he's that guy. I fucked this famous guy once. The everybody's entitled to one good scare. Yeah, that guy. And then
I fucked him. I
got a slice of that Halloween dick. And I think I'm marrying for money, and I got to assume that John Saxon.
Bump we've got now.
Yeah, I got to assume John Saxon's got the most money. I'm not marrying for dick, I'm marrying for that money. So I'm going with.
Well, that Thompson home is pretty nice.
Yeah, it is pretty nice. Yeah. So that's who I'm marrying for show. Thanks for
a little Borat there. It's very nice.
Very nice.
Sometimes you slip out of Borat here.
Yeah.
And there. It's kind of what happens in life.
Always under the surface.
The older you get, the more Borat you become.
My husband. Thanks for calling, Matt. Always good to hear from you, man. Last but not least, like I said, Caitlin did send us in an email with some more fuck, marry, kills on it. I got that right here. Caitlin says, "Hello, hunky boys." The first of the two, she says, FMK, podcasts, movies, and TV shows. Juicy J, why don't you kick us off first?
I guess if I had to, I'd kill podcasts. I still don't listen to a whole lot. It's mostly like our squad. Like I
find your lack of faith disturbing
each day with like our squad. But I mean, I talk with them on Slack, so I could get by if I couldn't listen to everybody's podcast. So that means that I would marry movies. I watch a movie like almost every day, so gotta stick around with the movies. And then I will I will fuck TV shows because I like to dabble. I like to get in there, get a little spice it up,
All right.
So, Vicky, fuck, marry, kill, podcast, movies, TV series.
I agree. I'm gonna have to marry movies because that's ride or die right there. They're always there. You got to marry movies. I'm going to fuck podcasts because I don't listen to anyone religiously. I'm more kind of, if somebody's got an episode that I really want to listen to, I'm sure there's some sexual jokes I can make in there. I'm not going to go for it.
You're stronger than us.
So I occasionally like to listen to podcasts, and I'm going to go ahead and kill TV shows because I'm going to be honest, I don't watch a lot of TV shows. I will just rewatch my comfort ones over and over, and that's it. So I can get rid of TV shows.
There you go.
Tight. Randeezy, what about
Bo Bear?
Oh
no. Okay.
Nobody try to control this ship. Just don't do it. It's a mistake.
Let it crash.
It's uncontrollable. I think I'm gonna go. I could very easily kill the podcast. Like the most emotional attachment.
This podcast.
Kill this. I would kill this podcast with a gun.
Set me free, please.
Someone wish me free. No, I would definitely it doesn't there's a great podcast in the world, but man, that's a newer medium. If I killed that off, that's only so much content missing, whereas movies and TV are so much content.
Well, you know what Joe Rogan thinks, Randy.
I'll just have to assume, which is more or less what I do now, and I'm typically pretty right, I must say. What else? TV. This is a tough one. I don't know. TV is comfortable and movies are exciting to me. You know what I mean? I do probably watch more TV shows than I do movies. It's because I usually I'm dog tired at the end of the day and I want to just throw something on and not think too hard about what it could be and have it be familiar to me. So I don't know if I would get rid of that comfort or not in favor of the exciting thing, but I think I kind of gotta. Movies, there's just so much more weight you can put behind movies. There's some TV shows that have blown my fucking mind over and over and over again. But yeah, I think that you can still get a lot of that, most of that, if not all of that, in film. And it's just that it goes to places that TV doesn't always do, or not until recently was able to, with the advent of cable and all that shit. So I think I got to marry movies, fuck TV. But buddy, it's a love affair.
I thought you were going the other way on that one. Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it sounded like, whatever. Doesn't matter. It sounded like the TV shows were more comfortable.
Well,
you watch them every day.
I don't know, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Bob,
you can parse this. We're parsing this differently. That's all.
Fuck, marry, kill.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in line with y'all. I'm gonna kill podcasts. I'm gonna fuck around with some of that TV, some of that Skinamax, and I'm marrying movies. Gotta do it. Gotta marry the movies.
Okay.
Bear Winch Project in particular, I assume.
The whole franchise, all 5. 4, 5,
geez.
all of
Good
them.
God. Vicky, I don't know if you know this, but that is the porn parody of Blair Witch Project.
Okay. I could make a guess.
I think it's.
I'm using you as an excuse to explain to the audience what the fuck we're talking about,
okay.
which is more effort than I usually make.
Good on you. Last but not least, our final Fuck, Marry, Kill. Caitlin asks us to do an FMK with each of our real life mothers.
No.
She then goes on to say, JK, unless you're ready to end your friendship and the show. Love you, Caitlin. So, Vicky, which one of our actual real life mothers would you fuck? And then marry and then kill?
I know all of them.
Yes, you do, for sure.
Hold on, we'll get him on the line. Hold on.
Tell my mother you would fuck her right now. Please, do it now. Tell her on the line.
I'm very foxy in the bed.
I'll show you a good time, Miss Vicky.
I've seen a barrel full of pickles in my day.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
That's a King of the Hill line. I take no credit for that.
I mean,
A barrel full.
That's Mama Randy talking right there. Just a goddamn barrel full of pickles.
We're a very open family.
You guys are representing your mother so well.
Oh, yeah.
The gherkins, the dills, the sweets. I've seen them all.
I ate a whole barrel of gherkins today, Randy.
Don't tell your father.
Make that money, Ma.
Don't tell your father, Randy. I just ate
this
a
is-
whole barrel of gherkins.
This
This is now officially veering into dark.
It's been weird.
That's that straight chilling after dark. All right.
We were teetering on the edge, but now I think we're plummeting. Let's move
It's
along.
real weird now. All right. I think we're just going to plead the fifth on that one, that last one there, Caitlin. Thanks for the email, though, for sure. Again, if you guys are listening and would like to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. Do you guys have any prompts you want to throw out there for next week?
What's our movie next week?
Alien 3, chosen by Miles, your boy Miles.
Oh, damn.
Hell yes. All right. Well, call in and to let us know. Honestly, I'm curious because Alien 3 has a reputation. I have not seen it, but it has a reputation as being pretty disliked among a large group of people, I think. So I would like to hear from people who would argue against that and who would argue for that. Who's vehemently anti-Alien 3 and who's vehemently pro. I want to hear those strong arguments from people. Come out swinging.
Either.
Yeah.
We are almost wrapping up the Alien franchise at this point.
Almost.
We're getting close.
Yeah. Just a couple. I think after this, there's 2 that we haven't covered. I'm pretty sure.
Well, the 4th one and
I've wasted my life.
Prometheus.
Prometheus. Yeah,
I think
that's
we
it.
covered Prometheus.
Oh, and AVP 2, which is very important.
Classic.
Requiem.
Oh God. Okay, never mind. We still got a ways to go.
So yeah, call in and let us know your thoughts on Alien 3. We're definitely going to hear from Miles, of course, because it was his pick for sure. But yeah, let us know if you stand the movie or hate it and why. Vicky, again, thanks so much for sitting in with us and putting up with our bullshit for fucking 2 hours. We really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I just feel like I went to work again, but it's fine.
And you didn't even get paid.
Not over.
Terrible. Why don't you remind our listeners just one more time where they can find your YouTube channel?
Just go to YouTube. Greatest site on the internet, guys. Just search Nightmare Maven. You'll find me. Quality content all the time. Guaranteed.
All
Hell
the
yeah.
time. Check it out.
That's the confidence I strive to have.
That you never will.
You got a ways to go. Really.
Yeah, you got work on
I
that.
see a whole lot more pickles.
Miles before we sleep. Don't tell your father. Check out Nightmare Maven over on YouTube. Like I said, we're going to be back next week with a brand new show. We're talking about Miles's Patreon pick, which is, of course, Alien 3. Slam your eyeballs into that. Get ready for next week's show. Until then, check us out on iTunes, rate, review, and subscribe. Over on Twitter, STR8_chilling. On Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. Send an email to straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to join in our daily Slack channel conversations, just hit us up on one of those social media outlets, and I'll send you a link so you can do so. Talk about the movie of the week. We got a new channel going about The Last of Us. We're getting into the conversation on that. Talk about the minicast, trade recipes, share cute pictures of our cats and dogs and whatnot. And it's a really great, fun, wholesome time. Join the community if you please. That's going to do it for us this week at Straight Chilling. Until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.